Hello and welcome to Yoga and Fitness with Mandy. I am Mandy and tonight I'm going to take you through a 15-ish minute or so yoga session that is going to focus on hip opening, and it is going to be a yin style yoga practice. So we are going to focus on just letting gravity do the work. And if you need a block, you might need a block for a couple of the poses. So if you use a block regularly, and then maybe a pad for your knees. So let's get started. So tonight we're going to start off in Sukhasana, easy pose. So we are going to take 3 big deep breaths and just focus on letting go of everything that happened in the day and just focus on relaxing and enjoying this practice. Here we go. All right, we are going to move into a cat-cow. So we're going to go all fours, your knees hip width distance apart, and your hands spread in line with your shoulders. And drop your belly and release for cat. Drop your belly, make sure that your shoulders are going away from your ears. All right, now we will move into what is called Sphinx pose. So if you need to move your pad out of the way and gently roll down, tops of your feet pressing into the floor, and lift your chest. Your ears are moving away from your shoulders. Take a few deep breaths. Your elbows are in line with your shoulders, and pelvis is pressing into the floor. And release. We are going to move into a lunge. So left foot at the top of the mat. And if you need to, you can either keep your knee on the floor and move into your low lunge like this, keeping your knee from going past your toes. Shoulders moving away from the ears and just feeling a good stretch. And if you want to, you can go into runner's lunge. And release into plank pose all the way down. And we'll do 3 baby cobras. Release back and right foot top of the mat. However you want to do your low lunge, I'm going to do it lifting up. Now in this pose, you can move around a little bit to kind of find that sweet spot where you feel like you get a really nice stretch in your hips as well. And plank pose, step back and release down. 3 more baby cobras. And release back into downward facing dog. And in this downward dog, you can just pedal your feet out. Make sure that your hands are gripping the mat, fingertips, hips moving up. And release down onto your knees. Now we're going to move into lizard pose. So bring your left foot to the top of the mat, both arms to the right, and you might toe heel your foot over to the left. And if this is enough, you can stay like this, or if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can gently open to the side, lifting your foot off the mat a little bit. Now, if this feels good, you can stay right here, or if you want to go down onto your elbows, you're welcome to do that. And we're just going to hold it here for a few minutes. So in these longer holds, you're going to want to really focus on your breath and just breathing. And as you're breathing, you might feel how your hips begin to open up. And as you feel that, you can release into the pose a little bit more. Make sure you're focusing on taking deep breaths, releasing anything that is not serving you. If you are on your elbows, you can go ahead and lift back up on your hands and just move a little bit. And releasing back gently. Bring your left foot back. We'll go back into tabletop pose. And let's do a few hip circles. So we're just gonna start on one side and just move in a circular motion. This should feel pretty good. And reverse. Okay, so we are going to move to the other side with our lizard pose. So right foot top of the mat, both hands on the opposite side, and this might be just enough as far as a good hip opening stretch. If you want to take it a little bit further, you can gently let your knee fall to the side, lifting the bottom of your foot. And this might be perfect right now. Remember, honor your body's needs and where you're at. Don't try to force anything. And if you would like to, you can bring your elbows down. And we can breathe into this pose for a few minutes. Remember, in these poses, especially the longer holds, you can get out of your own way simply by breathing into the pose and releasing down. You may find a little more space. If you are on your elbows, you can go ahead and lift back up. And release back into tabletop pose. We're going to do those hip circles one more time. So opposite of where you started the last time, doing your hip circles. And reverse. And find a neutral tabletop pose. Now we're going to move into pigeon pose. So bring your left foot forward. Now, some people use blocks, some people don't. You can heel toe your left foot over. I am going to use a block today. My hips are pretty tight. So if you're going to use a block, you can put it directly under your hip. and you want your left leg to be at a 90-degree angle, and the block will help you get that angle if you have trouble getting a 90-degree angle without it. Now you may want to stay up here if you're feeling a really good stretch and you're just like, okay, that's it for today. If you would like to, you can release down onto your forearms. And just let gravity do the work. You might feel your hip opening up a little bit to where you can find a little more space to go down a little deeper. But remember to respect your body's limits. What you might have done yesterday, you might not be able to do today, and vice versa. What you might not have done yesterday, you can do today. If you're on your forearms, go ahead and rise up. And you can release. Bring your block to the side if you had it. And neutral tabletop pose. And we're going to go into the other side. Right foot to the top of the mat. Heel toe your foot. And if you're going to use a block, you can put it down on your other hip. You're going to want to keep your hips square. So on the block, if you are using one, you're going to want to make sure your hips are in line with the parallel side of your mat. And you can release down as far as you're feeling it this evening. I've been having some tension in my right hip, so I'm going to stay right here. Remember to breathe into these practices, especially when it feels a bit intense. We have a tendency to try to breathe a little more shallow. So just breathe into the pose. Deep breaths. If you were on your forearms, you can go ahead and come up. And you can release the block back to a neutral tabletop pose. And we will tuck the toes, release into downward dog. You should feel a difference in this downward dog and the first one. You should feel a difference in this downward dog in comparison to your first one. And release back down. And you can swing your legs to one side. And we are going to do butterfly pose. So feet together. Release your hips down, and you can either hold on to your feet or you can walk your hands down, folding. This is a great hip opening pose, but you also can feel a nice stretch along your spine. begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. Roll over to one side. You can stay there for just a second. And come back up. And we will end where we began in Sukhasana, easy pose. Relax your shoulders down. Take a few breaths to really feel all of the effects of your practice. We'll end with one chanting of Om. So hands on heart. Take a big, deep belly breath in. Om. Thank you for joining me in this hip opening practice. I hope to see you again. Namaste.